Hello, welcome everyone. Silent Breed Podcast. We're back, episode 229. A lot to talk about. We took a couple days off, but now we're back better than ever. We got March Madness to talk about. The men's championship game wrapped up here past Monday night. We got a new national champion. We'll talk about that game. Plus, we'll talk about some more basketball, but we're going to head into the NBA. The play-in, it starts next week. We got a couple more games left in the 82-game schedule. A lot of injuries are popping up, so we'll talk about those, how it affects playoff seedings. We got some more drama in terms of Milwaukee and Giannis. Seems like the drama never ends with them. And then we got UFC 327 to preview this weekend. A big card coming up. I think they're fighting in Miami. So we'll preview the whole card, give you guys some good bets, some good picks. Then we sprinkle in a little bit of NFL. So all that being said, guys, stay tuned. March Madness. This wrapped up Monday night. Michigan versus UConn, championship game for the men's. And surprisingly, at least to my surprise, Michigan pulled out and got the dub. What a game. I didn't really watch it, but I've seen the highlights, and it's a close one, but Michigan has really impressed this whole March Madness run. I think I said this before, but I actually had them losing in the second or third round. In most of my brackets, I didn't have a lot of faith in them, but he definitely proved me wrong, and shout out to UConn for being a number 2 seed, making it all the way through the championship game. Dan Hurley had a chance to win 3 championships in 4 years, something that hasn't been done in a while. I think since Bobby Knight. So Dan Hurley, fantastic coach. I think he made the right decision to stay at UConn. I'll start with you, Lawrence. What were your thoughts on the national championship game?
Well, I thought UConn did a good enough job for kind of how Michigan had stomped everybody leading up to it. And also, shout out to, Michigan doing such a good job as well. One thing they were talking about in the Big Ten tournament was the injuries that were piling up, finishing the season for Michigan, and how the trip to the, getting to the final was going to be so hard with all the injuries they had. And this team was literally averaging a win of 15 points or more in the entire playoffs. So, yeah, they didn't really struggle. I don't think there was ever a game in which they had any fear or in doubt. Literally had the largest win margin of any team in history for 1 versus 1 seeds going at it. So, by all means, I think they had about as good of a tournament as you can have. It was a good reminder, and it was like an ode to beating UConn. I would say probably way back when, was it 2 years ago, 3 years ago at this point? UConn went through the whole tournament, beating everybody by 12 points or more. Got to the final against San Diego State and just absolutely dominated them again too. So it's kind of how it felt.
Jacob, your thoughts on the national championship game?
Yeah, I think Lawrence put it really well. Another stat that I think I saw was that Michigan had scored 90 points or more in every single one of the NCAA tournament games. So that kind of shouts out, UConn in the sense of there were times early in that game that it felt like Michigan was going to pull away and really beat them. And UConn, to their credit, they always stayed in it. They were always an arm's distance, from tying it up or taking the lead. And it seemed like one of those championships or one of those, title games where I think the better team won, and the team that didn't win still played really well and kind of gave it all they had. Michigan was 9 deep. Their superstars played like superstars, and their big guys, played really big. That Mara kid was unbelievable. Obviously, Yaxel is going to be an NBA player here soon. So I think, like you guys, I missed them. They were a 1 seed. They were a top 3 team for the majority of the year, but I was one of the people that I was, glamored by Arizona and Duke and kind of all these other schools. And Michigan, in my opinion, or just how I took it, just kind of flew under my own radar. Like I said, knew they were a good team because they were ranked high, but also I never really kind of sat down and watched them to understand that's a dominant team. And even with all the injuries and everything, they had a pretty clean bracket in terms of beating the teams they were supposed to beat. I think Alabama was in their region, and I had Alabama upset them in my bracket. And yeah, Michigan, a good champion. It's weird that a Big Ten team, was winning national championship in basketball. But hey, what a run the Big Ten's been on this year.
Yeah, I think the first time in over a decade the Big Ten's won a natty in the men's
I think
basketball.
since 2003. I think since Michigan State in the early 2000s.
Wow. So damn, almost over 20 years. Wow. So shout out Big Ten. Putting themselves back on the map in terms of, being dominant in basketball. In terms of overall March Madness, do we think any of these NBA prospects, has anyone's stock risen? Has anyone's stock kind of fallen? Like, how do we feel about some of the prospects? A Cup Jr., AJ, even Yaxel from Michigan. Some of these players, like, how are we feeling?
Well, if anyone's stock rose, it had to be any of the Michigan players. Any of the, I would say, white point guards from Nebraska or Iowa who made that run. I mean, their stock might have rose. But like, if we're talking about like tournament stock for like AJ, okay, yeah, he had one really good game in the first game, but by right now, I already forgot about his game. Now, what he did for the season, I didn't forget about it, but man had one good game in the round one. Problem is, you can't make magic with only one game.
No, I agree. Jacob,
Acuff was the big one for me. I knew he was going to be a lottery pick potentially, and he really kind of turned on the lights and proved to everybody that I think there's the top four, and then there's another bunch, that 5, 6, 7 with the Illinois point guard who also had a good showing, and a couple other guys. But I think, kind of just argue with Lawrence for the sake of arguing. AJ in that game, against Texas, like I loved watching that game because that was him basically putting the team on his back and doing everything physically possible for him. And granted, it wasn't enough because, the team couldn't really help him out too much, but he did that type of performance, to a person like me that wants him on my Wizards team next year. It was inspiring because he gave it everything he had. I think he had 37 points and he, shot over 60% from the field. So, unfortunately, he didn't get more opportunities to shine in the biggest moments, but he definitely shined in his one moment that he had.
Yeah, I think for me it's just Darius, like you said, Jacob. Going into it, I thought he was one of the top players, but right now, if I had to make a mock board and rank some of the top prospects, he'd probably be number one. I know you probably take height just because you can't. Height doesn't grow on trees, but he's a bad man. If I was an NBA team and I needed some scoring and needed a guard who can handle the ball, I'd probably choose him. So it's my 2 cents there. But talk about some more basketball, but moving to the NBA. A lot of injuries going on around the NBA. We got injuries to the Lakers. Both Luka and Austin Reeves are out. Giannis, he's fighting with the Bucks to come back, even though their playoff hopes are pretty much gone at this point. I think Ant-Man is still dealing with injury. Cade may or may not be back tonight as we speak.
Is back tonight.
Confirmed he's back? Okay. I think Wemby is game to game. He hurt his ribs last game or 2 games ago, right?
Paul George is mean, dirty player.
Paul George.
Yeah.
Jokic, I think he can only miss one more game before he's disqualified from the 65-game rule. Like, there's just a lot going on. So, how are we feeling about those injuries? I guess I'll start with the Lakers. I think the Lakers can only fall to 5, but in terms of the West, like, who has the most to lose due to these injuries? Is the Lakers, the Spurs, Ant-Man, I think he's still not back. Like, what do you guys think? I'll start with you, Jacob.
I think most to lose has to be the Spurs. And the easy argument, I think, is the Lakers. But we all kind of agreed that the Lakers probably weren't going to get past the second round, third round to one of the dominant teams, at max. Just so for that sake alone, I'm going to say the Spurs because if Wemby comes back, that's good, and I think we expect that. But if he doesn't come back 100%, then that's going to be a problem because this Spurs team it feels like is one of 4 teams that can actually win it all this year. Including the Thunder, Celtics, and the Nuggets, just for fun. If Wemby's not back 100%, then the Spurs really have no shot of beating the Thunder in a 7-game series. So I'll say the Spurs.
Okay. I'll say the Lakers just because, if they want to retain LeBron, they definitely have to I mean, it's weird to say like retain a 42-year-old at that point, but he's still your third best player, and you don't know if you're going to pay Austin Reeves. He might go somewhere else if you don't pay him next season. So the Lakers got a lot to lose. You still got Luka, and he's still going to attract stars, but you got 2 stars in the building, and you kind of want to show up and show out in the playoffs to give your best pitch, I guess, for them to stay. Lawrence, what are your thoughts on the West? Who's the team that lose the most here?
Based on severity of I would say Anthony Edwards one, because I'm kind of in the same boat with Jacob. Like, I get it. You don't want to lose LeBron because of what he can do, but he's also getting there in age, so moving off the contract wouldn't be the worst thing in the world. But the Spurs, the Spurs are also in the position to maybe having everything to lose right at the last moment. But I still think the Timberwolves were in the worst position because, I mean, Anthony Edwards is going to be gone right before you try to make a run in the playoffs. And then you're going to have to be a first-round matchup with, like, the Nuggets. I have no idea why this dog's acting like this. But, yeah, you have to be a first-round matchup against the Nuggets. And, okay, your best player is going to be coming right back off injury right before this series. And the Nuggets, I mean, by all means, are probably the healthiest they've been in a couple years going into the playoffs. I'm not hearing any rumblings of a problem with Jokic. I'm not hearing any rumblings of a problem with Murray. You know, they finally have who's the man in the paint down at the bottom? Gordon. I finally have Gordon not, being healthy scratches or just be scratches in general. Days before a game. So
Peyton Watson, he's back. He's been playing.
They're healthy.
They got Bruce Brown to go back for this playoff run. Like, I don't want to be going against that team from the Timberwolves, and then our star is not going to be here to help us. Because, I mean, right now they're playing the Magic. I mean, they're putting up that good fight, but the Magic aren't anything to be special in the East. And I don't know, without the talent to you can keep up with them, they're down by 10 at halftime.
Yeah,
I think to add to Lawrence's fault, add to your point, you're not winning a playoff series if Julius Randle is your best player. And I like Julius Randle. I think we all like him. But, like, we've seen it enough times. Like, if Julius Randle is the number one guy in your team, you're not winning in the playoffs. Sorry, just how it is.
Yeah, no, you're completely right. I think second team to watch out for in the West would have to be the Timberwolves, but we'll see. I think Ant-Man will probably try to come back in some capacity before the playoffs. Going into the East, not too many injuries besides K. K is pretty much the major one, but he's confirmed to come back tonight. So we'll see if there's a minute restriction. We'll see how, the percentage of his play is, if he's 80, 85%, or is he closer to, 90, 95. But the East, it's kind of all over the place. Other than the top 4 teams, the East is, I would say, better than the West this year in terms of the upper middle, but the top of the East is still shaky. I mean, it's pretty much just maybe the Celtics, Knicks. I don't know if you guys agree with me. I really don't have. I mean, if K's not 100% or close to that, I don't put the Pistons on that same caliber. Do you guys have same thoughts, or think a little bit differently?
Same exact thoughts.
I mean, I would like to hope the Cavaliers can, I don't know, make some kind of noise, but I feel like you even trying to stir the argument that they can make some noise, because, like, finishing the season, you get to play the Hawks twice, so you get to go play your opponent twice. You get to win one of those, but you get to beat the Wizards. I mean, last game of the season against the Wizards. Try to finish off the season as best you can. Maybe you can overtake the Knicks. If you can overtake the Knicks, you get a series against the Raptors. I wouldn't want to go into the playoffs playing the Hawks at the 4 seed. You go into the playoffs playing the Hawks. Markel said multiple times, Hawks are kind of dangerous. And given a certain path, I do also agree with Markel, the Hawks could be dangerous. So I kind of like to see the Cavaliers kind of make some kind of moves.
Yeah, we'll have to see. I think right now, if I'm the Pistons and Cade's not 100%, or if he's not even 90%, I watch out for the Hornets, because I think the Hornets, and I told Jacob last week, I said, I think the Hornets could probably take the Pistons in a 7-game series. The Hornets have just been playing well, one of the hottest teams in the NBA. coming out of All-Star break, really since January, they kind of just flipped the switch. I'd be scared to play the Hornets, man. Those young guns, they're young, they're healthy, they can shake off the injuries like it's nothing, so they got nothing to lose, man. So they're going to let it fly. LaMelo playing out, lights out. I think they got a chance.
I'm excited to see them. I really am, especially just because of the lack of playoff experience for their young core. But I think when we come to the East, I mean, obviously the top teams deserve talking about first, but we have got to talk about this Giannis situation because I've seen bad and I've seen ugly, but I have not seen anything like this before.
Yeah. We talked about it, the trade deadline, would he get traded, would he not? I put it at about 40%. I can't remember what you guys said, but ends up he didn't get traded. Milwaukee wants to hold on to the summer. They want to see if he actually signs the extension, or as the owner, I think Jimmy Haslam's the owner now. He said if he doesn't sign it, he's going to trade him. So he basically put it out there that there's a certain date during the summer that if he doesn't sign it, there's going to be automatic bidding war, and thus I feel like the offers that they get are not going to be as good as what they got during the trade deadline. And Shams just put out an article kind of confirming some of the things we heard. They really weren't going to trade him, but the one offer they really considered was the Heat's offer, which in my opinion was a damn good offer. But it is what it is. They thought that they could potentially get more during the summer, which I'm kind of disputing. I don't think teams are going to offer nearly as much once they know that Giannis has to go. So I don't know. What do you guys think, Jacob? I'll start with you. Like, what are the chances now? Like, is Giannis out of there? Is he actually going to get traded? I know he wants to play. He wants to make history with his brothers, but being all the brothers to play in the game all at once. But the Bucks are refusing to clear him. He's pissing them off. Doc Rivers is having the team meeting, talk about Google me, and other crazy shit like that. Like, how are we feeling about the situation?
100%. You made so many good points there. I think I want to say 100, but I think it's got to be 99 just because anything could happen in sports. But the thing that you mentioned most that like frustrates me so much, because I was 100% team they're going to trade him in the summer, because that just made the most sense. You can't trade a superstar guy like Giannis with 25 games left in the season. That just doesn't happen very often. So I was very big on, if it's not working, trade him in the offseason. But Giannis coming out and basically saying, like, I want to play. They're not letting me play. They're disagreeing with me. Like, it became a feud as opposed to a bad situation where, like, they're both on different sides. Like, it became like Giannis is angry with them. Giannis is upset. And you know how star players in the NBA, like, they get their way. Like, the NBA is one of the most player-driven leagues, which is a good thing in a lot of ways. But when you have a guy like this in a small market saying, like, this ain't working, I want to be out of here, I think 20 out of 20 times he's getting out of there. And I also think, to your point, Markel, is that in the regular season, they probably got a lot of really good offers from teams that, like, saw an opportunity to get a top 4, 5, 6 player in the entire world, put out good offers, but they thought, similar to me, in which if we wait till the summer, Knicks and other teams get more picks, and then we can get a bigger offer. That doesn't happen when your star player that you're talking about trading comes out and says, I hate it here. I want to play. They're not letting me play. And there's like a clear and obvious divorce in the making. So, yeah, I think the Bucks kind of screwed themselves by not trading him during the regular season, because why would you offer what you just offered when you know for a fact that he's going to get traded? And I know bidding wars can drive up prices, but I think the NBA kind of is on a similar playing field where they all know, like, hey, if Team A only offers 75% of what they did during the regular season, then I'm going to offer that too, because I don't want to spend more assets than I have to, because we know that we can get them at a reduced cost. And all that being said, I think the Bucks hilariously misplayed the situation. And Giannis is 30, 31. Like, Giannis has a lot of ball left. And he's been mostly healthy in his career. Obviously, with age comes more injuries. But I think whichever team gets him this offseason, which seems inevitable, is going to get a guy that is extremely motivated. And we saw Giannis pretty much single-handedly take the Bucks all the way to a chip when he was motivated. So wherever Giannis goes next, I would be whoever those fans are going to be very lucky, because Giannis already is a beast, but he's going to be a motivated beast coming off all this BS.
Lawrence, what are your thoughts on this interesting Milwaukee Bucks situation?
Well, my thing is that you have a long-term value future with your guy. Like, you don't believe off moving from him, then you let him play. Like, if he gets hurt, that's on his own. That's on his own problem. That's his own problem.
Mm.
He already agreed to be with us for long term. If we agreed that he should be with us long term, and I'm going to let him play with his brothers. It is what it is. But I think it's more so the fact that they didn't let him play with his brothers. It's more telling than the fact that they probably are either thoughts or already have the ideas of moving off of him, coming into the future, like you guys are alluding to. Because, I mean, that would be the only reason why you don't want him to go out there and get hurt, or, don't want him to go out there. Because what is it really going to affect your next season? There's only a handful of injuries that really can just tar, and I get it. We don't want to talk about it, and we don't want it to happen, but I don't know, to drive your star crazy over the fact that he can't play over meaningless basketball when you could just let him play the meaningless basketball. And is he going to go out there and go 150% and get himself hurt? No. That man literally could go out there and play like the All-Star game and nobody's going to care.
Yeah, it's an interesting situation. We'll see what happens if they let him play. My best guess is probably not. They don't want to, have him wreck his knee or tear Achilles or whatever the case is, knock on wood, and then his trade value even goes down even more. I think this is going towards a divorce. Hate to say it for Bucks fans who, probably would have been okay with Giannis just getting traded and getting whatever. But now, like you kind of said, Jacob, you're just going into the summer where teams are just going to offer less, offer 60, 70%, 75% of what they offered during the trade deadline. And Bucks fans are going to be pissed because once they hear what the offer is compared to what they were getting during the trade deadline, they're going to be pissed. This is definitely mismanaged.
Yep.
Moving on to NFL. Got a little bit of news. Probably the biggest thing, Kirk Cousins signing. Essentially, it's a 1-year deal, 1 year, $20 million. But I think on paper it's 5 years, $170. But I think after the second year, it's mostly void years. Going to the Raiders. Don't know. I personally don't know if he's going to start or mentor Mendoza. Obviously, he's going to be the first pick. Lawrence, what are your thoughts on this?
Wait. Are you not part of the Ty Simpson crowd?
Dano.
Yeah, I mean, Mendoza's probably guaranteed first overall pick. I think even their moves of what they did in the offseason, aka the Raiders, of getting him at the top seed were made apparent when they went out and got a good center. Like, okay, we want to make sure that the handoff to our main guy is on top point. Also, the way they structure Kirk Cousins' contract, it's really front heavy, so he's really only there for a year. Okay, Mendoza doesn't get his ass killed the first year. Oh, so we get one more year to make sure Mendoza has a really go line, so that then moving forward, our knight in shining armor will not be murdered by the time he sees his third season.
Jacob, your thoughts on this signing by the Raiders?
I think it's perfect. I mean, I watched Indiana closely last year, and I know we know Mendoza a little bit more than casual fans, but his biggest comp, not on the field, but just personality-wise, because he is quirky and he is kind of nerdy and he is goofy. Obviously, he's a dog on the field, but he is literally a glorified 6'5" Kirk Cousins. So I think it's perfect for a guy like Kirk Cousins, who has had multiple stops in the league from Washington to Minnesota to he's been all over. It's a great person to kind of teach and develop Mendoza, because he's almost like an extended coach. He might start the first couple games, and I think Raider fans would be okay with that. I think casual fans would also be okay with that. More so than anything, you look at how quarterbacks, specifically young quarterbacks, are developed nowadays. I mean, when was the last time a rookie quarterback came in and just lit the league on fire? It was probably C.J. Stroud, but some of the best quarterbacks in the league right now, aside, Lamar Jackson probably, they all struggled when they first started. Mahomes is Mahomes, different category, but Josh Allen struggled. I mean, a lot of guys kind of need some development. I mean, Mahomes sat a year. He sat a year behind Alex Smith. So, I really am in the camp of giving your rookie quarterback, whether it's 2 weeks, 4 weeks, half the season, or full season, just let him live the NFL life for a little bit and let him kind of absorb information and learn kind of like slower than being on the fly, just saying, hey, Trevor Lawrence, we drafted you. You're going to be our savior. Go out there. If you die, then that sucks, but we need you to be Superman. Thanks. So I really like the idea of like, hey, Kirk Cousins is a longtime starter. He's well respected, very similar personality types. If Kirk Cousins gets the first month of games and they go, 0-4, 1-3, then what do you got to lose? I mean, I think Mendoza's progression to a good quarterback is not only big for the Las Vegas Raiders, it's big for the NFL. I mean, he's a big-time prospect, and I think a lot of people expect him to be really good, and I think having a guy like Kirk Cousins is only going to help him in his career.
Yeah, no, totally agree. And, hey, if Kirk plays well, maybe he goes from being on a bad situation to a team that maybe loses their quarterback. They still want to be competitive. Hey, maybe they trade for that contract.
Well
it does
said.
have all the void years at the end, so it might be a contract worth trading for. Whatever the compensation for that would be, we'll have to determine that at a later date, but I can see that happening as well. Another, not signing, but we do have some possible trade in the works. Dexter Lawrence wants another payday. One of the top defensive tackles in the league wants to get paid as such, right? So I think they currently have optional workouts right now. He's not showing up. Says he wants to get paid. There's a chance that he might get traded. There's a couple of suitors, including my Bengals. So how do you feel about this situation, and what team could best use his services? I'll start with you, Lawrence.
Oh man, it's every team that doesn't have a pass rush. Like Carolina or any team who, went out and traded for a pass rush and then decided to back out of their pass rush. Or maybe some team that is looking to trade their pass rusher and then get maybe another pass rusher that might not cost as much, but could provide some kind of effectiveness in probably a transition period. That they probably don't need the top end talent of, like, let's just say we're just going to talk about this team already, the Raiders.
Mm-hmm.
They could move off Max Crosby and probably get a good, steal out of him. They got 2 first-round picks, one time for the one time. So you get Dexter Lawrence a little bit cheaper. You don't have to pay as much. You still got one more transition year before your main guy is going to take you to the promised land anyways. So I just need you to get me through one more year. You can kind of make it nice for Dexter Lawrence in a 1 year, big pot contract, but Nick, you're gonna have to play really good, otherwise you're not gonna get that max deal that you're gonna get the next year. Or you give him 2 years or 3 years. Maybe you make it top heavy with the ability to have I would say opt out, as the team gets a little bit more progressed or built. Because you probably don't see a long-term future with him getting in his age. But Dexter Lawrence, he's only 34? Is he older than 34?
28.
Is he
28?
He's perfectly fine. You don't even have to worry about the age thing. So you can just build around it for the future. Because at this point, Crosby's getting up there in age. But there's other teams around the league who don't have any kind of pass rush, who are foaming at the mouth to even be able to have that guy on the market to get a pass rush. Like, I don't know, Carolina should be making a phone call just to be like, hey, so what's his going rate? Like, what do we have to give up?
Yeah, no, I agree. Jacob, what are your thoughts? What team would be best suited for Dexter Lawrence, in your opinion?
I think, opposed to what Lauren said, like, obviously pass rush helps. Like, he is a really good pressure D tackle. I think it's a team that needs a beef up the run stopper, or more than that, like an energy guy that just brings the swag, brings the work ethic. But that being said, I was very surprised when this kind of came out, and I was like, oh yeah, man, Sexy Dexy, like, he's a beast, right? Check the stats this year. Bro had 30 tackles and a half sack. This is far removed from the Sexy Dexy that was getting pick sixes and sacking, close to 10 guys a year. Like, yeah. I think, and unfortunately in the NFL, it happens way too much that guys play motivated because they want something. Bro wanted a big contract, and he played motivated, got the big contract, and he played unmotivated last year, and now he wants more money? Like, he's getting paid $20 million, or $20 million and 19.5 the next couple years.
Mm-hmm.
Like, for his production last year, that's a overpay. Granted, I do trust the fact that if he, were to get traded and get put in another situation with a new contract or something, like, we know he has it in him. Like, we know he's probably one of the best, top 5 D tackles in the league. But
Mm-hmm.
it's interesting when you talk about a guy that's put up insane production one year and then the next year he hasn't really done anything. It sounds like a guy's taking snaps off or not working as hard or sitting out when he doesn't need to be. So I'm a big Dexter Lawrence fan. I just think this situation is very strange. Obviously, Harbaugh came out today and said that they don't want to trade him and he's going to be a big part of the team. But definitely a distraction in what otherwise was a really good offseason for the Giants.
Yeah, a little bit of a distraction. They're signing a bunch of good players, but I feel like they have enough on defense to kind of let them go. Compensation looks like a late first or second rounder. I'm thinking probably second rounder, if anything. I don't think teams going to give up a first for the reasons you pointed out, Jacob. I don't think. I think that's going to scare off teams for giving probably their best offer. So I think a second is fair. Maybe a second and a player, or maybe a second plus another pick. Maybe going into next year. I don't think a team's going to part with 2 picks in this year's draft. Where we're leaning a little bit into defensive depth. So maybe you think, all right, well, if I can't have him for a second, I'll go and find my Dexter Lawrence, somewhere in this draft. So
yeah,
I don't know. It's an interesting situation. I want the Giants to pay him, but I think they got a lot of other things they need to figure out before they figure out that they can pay him. Because they got a lot of guys down the road they have to pay. Abdul Carter, some other guys on that defense. So we'll have to see about that. Last but not least, we got UFC 327 after I would say 3 straight great fight nights from the UFC. We're back to a numbered event. I think they're down in Miami. I think one of the main events, right? They pulled and moved to the next one. I forgot what fight it was, but
Josh Van versus Tatsuro Taira is going to be for the flyweight championship of the world. I think Josh Van pulled out. He had some lingering injury. Wasn't serious, so they just pushed it onto the May card. But still a loss. That's going to be a good fight.
Yeah, I'll let you guys take it away.
All right, so UFC 327, as Markel said that, I was like, man, UFC 300 felt like it was last month. And I was like 27 number of events in 2+ years ago. But Alex Pereira, everyone's favorite fighter, has left and vacated his light heavyweight title. He's moving up to heavyweight. He will be fighting on UFC Freedom at the White House, which that'll be something that we'll talk about later on down the line. But that being said, the light heavyweight title is vacated. So Yuri Prochazka, who seemingly has only lost to Alex Pereira, is getting a crack at an Aussie prospect, Carlos Ulberg. Should be a good fight. Lawrence, let's go top down. So let's start with the big boys, and then we'll move our way down the card. Yuri getting a third crack, or maybe more than that, because he was the champion, and then he vacated because he had the bad injury. He came back, fought for the title against Alex, lost, rematched Alex, lost. So this might be Yuri's like 4th or 5th chance at a title, in which he had one previously. But what do you think about him with the up-and-coming Ulberg?
I don't know. I feel like every time I watch Yuri, I always wonder, how good he is, like, or if he's any good. Then I think about it, I'm like, this guy could only not beat Alex Pereira. So this is also the only guy they could give Alex Pereira to get, a decent competition out of him. And then you watch him fight Alex Pereira, and it's, he did high, I guess. You thought he could do a little better. Kind of got murdered a few times, or by Alex, but I don't know. I think he's got it this time. I think Ulberg, I don't know. I don't know if it was the strongest matchup they could give him. I know he's been on a tear. He's 13-1. He is getting up there in age. He is like 35, but I mean, he's been in the UFC for a while. He was on the Contender Series during the COVID time, I'm pretty sure. It was like a COVID guy. That's how he got in. He got in through the what do they call that? The Apex guy. But I mean, he's been on a good tear. But I don't know. I'd like to see, what he can do against Yuri. I mean, he beat John, but he, what's the value of John these days? What is it, Blachowicz?
Yeah, Blahovic is he was also like 41 when they fought,
Yeah,
so
yeah. We don't know what his true value is because the only things they've ever given him, kind of up until this point, have been the older guys moving out. Because like he fought Dominic Reyes, but Dominic Reyes' biggest claim to fame was beating the best of all time, and then kind of going nowhere in his career.
yeah, I think Olberg, one of those cases where he came onto the scene and was finishing everybody, and then they finally gave him some tougher fights, and he couldn't even get 41-year-old Jan Blachowicz out. They went to decision against him. He did absolutely murder Dominic Reyes, who once famously won but also lost to John Jones via scorecards. Um, I think this fight's intriguing because Olberg is kind of a stoic power puncher. Obviously, like I just mentioned, like he had gone to decision the last couple fights minus the Reyes fight. Whereas Yuri, his whole style, his whole game, to go back to what you said, Lawrence, is like you don't really realize how good he is because he's one of those wild guys that like trains by punching trees in the forest, and he fights with his hands down and his head cocked up, and he doesn't check leg kicks, and he gets hit a lot, but like he has kind of that psychomaniac, Semini, warrior type of feel to him where, like we said, we know what his kryptonite is. His kryptonite is Alex Pereira, who has, left the division. So I think Olberg could be a problem for him just because of the pure power. With that being said, I mean, I can't go against my boy Yuri just because I've seen him beat everybody not named Alex Pereira. So I'm hoping he's going to bring home the title for a second time.
And like I would say the big knock on Orberg is like his knowledge coming into this. Like you said, I think his biggest weakness, Yuri, is patient fighters. Someone who's he's gonna make you take business to him and then counter
Yep.
with you, take you down. That is exactly how Alex Pereira is. He's a kickboxer. That is exactly what Yuri doesn't need, and that's
Yep.
not what Orberg is.
Yep. I agree. Markel, you got anything?
No, I don't know too much about either of these guys, but I've seen Yuri get knocked out by Chama. So, hey, no fault of his own for losing to one of the best, in the past couple of years.
All right, cool. So going on to the co-main event, which was previously Josh Van versus Tatsuya Tyrant. Like we mentioned before, that's gotten bumped to the May card in New Jersey. So we got Asmat. I think it's Murzan. No, I'm not gonna try. Asmat's fighting Paulo Costa. Paulo Costa's a fan favorite. Paulo Costa used to fight at 185. He's moving up to light heavyweight. I'm pretty sure that's his debut fight there. And Asmat's been knocking everybody out. He's one of those stoic dudes. Undefeated, 16-0. He just fought Rakic, I think the end of last year, knocked him out in the first round. Before that, he fought another first round knockout. I mean, this dude's been knocking out everybody. So he finally gets a big name and a big moment. So what do you think here with the undefeated Russian versus the fan favorite Paulo Costa?
He stays. I pretty much I'm interested to see if he takes Paulo Costa to decision or not. I think that would be like one of the bigger tests for him. Because Paulo Costa, as good and as bruiser and good as he is, that man does not like to get knocked out. He either will take a fight to decision or go down fighting. But most of the time, he takes that thing to decision if that's the worst thing he can get. On the other hand, you got Asmat, who we don't know everything about, but we know that he's pretty fucking good at getting to the finish, and just kind of doing what he's doing to get, I would just say, moved around in the UFC. I mean, he hasn't been here very long, and he's getting Paulo Costa. Once he beats Paulo Costa, because I believe he will beat Paulo Costa, he's probably getting a top 5 fight within the division. From there, he can take that to a title fight. I mean, road's not going to be very long if he just gets this quick dub.
Yeah, I think very well said. I think for betting purposes, the two options here would be Asmat via finish or Asmat via decision. Paulo Costa is a veteran in this game. I know he's got a lot of fans. He's a fun dude, really cool guy. He's not winning this fight. That's my best bet probably of the entire show is as Matt. Figure it out. If you want to do knockout, do knockout. If you want to do decision, do decision. Decision's probably got more value in it. Like Lauren said, Paulo Costa can eat some punches. He's been in some wars in which he lost, but it's hard to get a guy like Paulo Costa out of there. Next down, Curtis Blades fighting unranked. Number 5, Curtis Blades fighting unranked Josh Hokett. Hokett's one of those loudmouth new guys that's been kind of on a tear, but he's one of those personalities that people in the UFC say that they need because he's not afraid to not have a filter and say whatever he feels. Curtis Blades, however, a good fighter. He's been around for a long time. He's also responsible for some of the most boring fights I've ever seen in my entire life. So not really sure what to expect here. It could be the new kid kind of breaking through, or it could be the old guard. Just Curtis Blades could just take him down and ride him for 11 minutes, and this be a waste of money and waste of time. But what are you thinking on this one?
I think one of the problems is he's not that. I wouldn't say he's not that heavy. It's just that I kind of think Curtis Blades is gonna put his body weight and lean on him and kind of make it hard, and probably makes it a boring fight. And this is kind of gonna be one of those things where, oh man, this is a knockout waiting to happen, and then they don't get knocked out. Because one thing that we kind of forget about is the fact that it's not going to be a 5-round fight. It's not going to go deep. Like if these dudes just hug each other for one whole round is so long in big boy terms.
It'll be gassed out immediately. Yeah, I think in terms of snoozer of the night, I do like Curtis Blades. He's a good dude. To me that has snoozer written all over it, unless Hokett can get a first round knockout or something. But this next fight, when I saw this fight got released, I promise you I laughed out loud because it's Dominic Reyes, who other than almost beating John Jones is famous for getting knocked out unconscious hilariously, fighting the other guy in the light heavyweight division that's been knocked out hilariously the most, in Johnny Walker. Two big dudes, two guys that are capable of getting finishes and also, like I said, capable of getting finished hilariously. I have no idea where to even start here. I'm just going to bet on this fight to end via knockout. What do you think?
One of them dies by getting knocked out. I completely agree with your assessment in that. They both have chins at this point in their career. I mean, careers, I would probably say loose for some. I mean, okay, let's not be... But, like, I don't know. They haven't had the most illustrious careers, but within it, I think Johnny Walker probably gets knocked out in this one. I've just seen that man hit the hit the canvas too many times.
Yeah, I could say the same about both. Next fight, Cub Swanson and Nate Landwehr. Kind of a weird main card fight. Swanson's a legend, obviously, probably his last fight. Nate the Train.
Yeah, it is his retirement fight. They've already said.
Okay, cool. All right, respect to Cub Swanson. I don't want to really go into this one too much, but I love it when legends go out on top. So I'll back my boy Cub here.
I'll back Cub, but I feel like if he gets in a punching war with Nate, he probably loses.
Yeah. Same thing with Patricio Pitbull versus Aaron Pico. Everyone's saying this is the Bellator fight of the night. Two former Bellator guys that both sucked as they got into the UFC. I'm really not here to cover Bellator fighters. I'm here to cover UFC fighters, and neither one has won in the UFC. So there's still Bellator fighters for me. The winner of this can get talked about in a more positive way. But the best fight on the prelims for me, and I can't wait to talk about this one, you got your boy Kevin Holland, Loudmouth, or Big Mouth as Dana used to call him, and Randy Brown, who can crack and can also be a part of some fun, entertaining wars. What do we think about this fight?
I think the only thing we can fear in this fight is Kevin Holland's, I would say, newly found chin, but I feel like he doesn't have like the knockout power to scare Randy Brown from not pressing him too much.
Yeah, I'm afraid this is going to be a Kevin Holland is going to want to wrestle fight because Kevin Holland can box. We all know that, but Randy Brown's got the superior power by a long shot. And Kevin's smart. I mean, as dumb as he is, I mean, he's smart enough to know that if it's a standing war between the two of them, he's going to get clipped. So I still think it's going to be a fun fight because Kevin's ego is top notch in terms of I could box him. I'm better than him. And Randy Brown's had some highlight reel finishes over the years. So I really like that fight a lot. Gamrot and Ribovic.
I'm surprised Gamrot has fallen this far in his career.
Yeah, he's just one of those guys to me that will win fights against guys like Ribovic, but will lose fights inside the top five, top six. Strong dude. Ribovic is good, but I'm not really sold yet. So it's definitely one of those old guard versus young guard kids. If the Argentinian can pull out a win here, get himself in the rankings, good for him. But I'm kind of over the Gamrot experience. He's super good, but he's never going to be champion type of guy. Tatiana Suarez, who most recently fought for a title, is now subject to the almost early prelims against one of my favorites in the strawweight division, Lupi Godinez. So it's kind of funny you're seeing a 2 versus 6. That's going to be the fourth fight of the night. But I think Tatiana Suarez, obviously, she just got a chance at the belt. I think she's one of the best strawweights in the world. It's a good test for Lupi, but I'm going to say Tatiana probably by decision there.
I think it also just tells how good this card is. I mean,
Yes.
we can say these guys like, oh man, we don't really care about them, but they're still decently good fighters. And like, as we're going down, the fact that Kevin Gastelum also is second fight of the night, and Francisco like Parado is the first fight of the night. Like, I'm pretty confident Parado literally was like a co-main event in a fight night not too far back, probably like within 2 years. So these are half decent people all the way at the bottom.
Yeah, I wouldn't. That's probably the victim of an Apex card, one of those shitty cards that ended up having good fights on it. But yeah, no. Next fight down, I would want to talk about. No disrespect to Charles Radke and Prado, but yeah, Gaslam and Vicente Luque. I mean, you're talking about two. I don't want to say legends in the sport, but like between casuals and legends, just long timers. I mean, Gaslam fought for a title. His fight with Izzy's in the Hall of Fame. Vicente Luque's been around. He's been ranked for what seems like forever. Luque's had trouble being healthy and making weight, but I mean, same with Gaslam. He's missed weight a ton too. So I like that fight a lot, like you said, especially as the second fight of the night. I think this card lacks, minus Yuri probably, it lacks big name talent, but it makes up for it, like Lauren said, with its supreme depth. I mean, you're talking about the women, 2 versus 6 as the fourth fight of the night. Like, there's a lot of names. I mean, we've gone through the whole card pretty much. A lot of sneaky good fights. And as Markel kind of said at the beginning of this, the last 3 fight nights were bangers, kind of out of nowhere. The problem in the Paramount era so far has been the numbered events have kind of been a little lackluster compared to the fight nights. So I hope with this amount of depth, we get a good full night of fighting and some surprising moments.
I also feel like one of the things that these numbered events keep having is they have all these big names, and then I'm not even going to say, but like it's the big names who aren't putting out the shows because what's his name, like Ewig, the one who was just fighting in the last fight night, the one who came on a short notice and pretty much took it to Wellmaker and beat Wellmaker, and then in his second UFC fight wins again, and they're not giving him bums. They're literally making this guy who literally just pretty much walked into the UFC because he literally took a fight night against Wellmaker on 2 days' notice. These guys are actually like putting on like proper performances to get notices, and then we have like these, I would just say, old legends like Kevin Gastelum and stuff like that who for the most part for the last couple of years haven't put on anything amazing of a show. But they're getting these numbered events, and then we keep looking back at these numbered events not being that good, and it's like because these top talents like, yeah, I'm on these big numbered events, but like kind of past my prime. I got nothing to fight for. I'm just kind of here getting my check. I don't want to go in there and kill Luque. I just want to get my check and go home.
Yeah, I think too with the new structure with the finish bonus and 100K for any finish, I think that's appealed more to the fight nights because those are guys that are starving for money, starving for a name. Nobody knows them, so they're the ones that are kind of going all out. Because like you just said, Vicente Luque, Kevin Gastelum, both those guys got money. They're both names. Everyone knows them. So like I think the incentive for them to kind of go extra hard and get the finish is just not as there as much as it would be for a guy, buried in the prelims of a fight night in the Apex that no one gives a shit about. So hopefully that changes. I mean, 100K is 100K. I mean, I don't care who you are. But
Yeah,
I would like to see that.
And Dominic Reyes and Johnny Walker, like
That's a
I
finish.
swear to God, if those are the only two who just go like balls to the wall swinging and to get the 100K, at least we know there's going to be one fight on this card who's going to have people just going balls to the wall to get the 100K.
Yeah, there's some guarantee. I don't want to say guaranteed because that's not real. But like the Randy Brown Kevin Holland fight's not going to decision. The like you just said uh, what are their names? Dom
Reyes and
Reyes and John
Walker.
Walker. They're not going to decision. And honestly, if Yuri wins, Yuri's not going to outpoint Oberg. Yuri's going to knock him out. Like Yuri's going to do something crazy last minute. And same with Asmat. Asmat's either going to win by points or he's going to knock him out. I think this card's got a lot of potential. But just to kind of go back on what we were saying, the guys need to show up. The guys need to, have that dedication and the extra motivation to get the finish. And I mean, the Miami card, going back the last few years, Miami card is always stacked, and it's always a great, great event. I mean, going back 2 years, Lawrence, we were together when Dustin Poirier knocked out Benoit Saint Denis. I mean, that was electric. I mean, that was an awesome atmosphere, awesome fight, and hope we can get some more good ones on Saturday night.
Just such a disservice to Miami not to have that Vaughn versus Tiari. Because even though I do think he got it too quickly, the Japanese guy, still wanted to see it happen, though. I still wanted to see those two motherfuckers, just punch each other and go for it. Because I think stylistically, he's the best matchup Vaughn can really have. I mean, he's going to have the fastest hands, the smallest frame, the quickest way to go back and forth to have a dog war with him.
Yeah, I mean, we'll talk about it when we get there, but Josh Van's a beast. A lot of fans are upset just because he won the title off Pantoja via injury, and then he pulled out of his first defense, which, I mean, to me, if he had a lingering knee or lingering anything, and he was just like, hey, like, can we push it back a month? That's smart, as opposed to, conceited or, pissing off the fans. Like, he's just trying to look out for his own future. Going back to Tyra, I mean, Tyra beat Brandon Moreno pretty convincingly the same night that Josh Van beat Pantoja. So as a big Josh Van fan, because that dude can box, he's one of my favorite boxers. He's wicked fast. To anybody that hasn't seen it, go watch Josh Van versus Brandon Royval. It's one of my favorite fights of all time. Those dudes beat the shit out of each other. Tyra is a full, he loves to grapple, loves to shoot takedowns, loves to do judo. Like Tyra is a whole package, and he's also, I want to say Korean. If I'm not, I really apologize. He might be Japanese too. That's a market the UFC really doesn't have. So I think Tyra is a guy that the UFC has been trying to push, and that'll be a big fight once the May card happens. But yeah, I was bummed about that too. But as a Joshua Van fan, it kind of makes me think that he's going to have the belt for another month, and there's something cool about that.
Yeah, we will. I can't wait for this. This card on Saturday should be fun. We lost one of the co-main events, but I don't mind it getting pushed back another month. In New Jersey, that card is looking pretty stacked already, so we'll see. But do we have anything else that we want to cover? Well, before we head on out, I don't think we touched on CJ Stroud. They picked up his 5th-year option, the Texans, that is. I know there was a little bit of back and forth about whether they're going to do that. And Kyle Pitts signed his tag, so I think they're still going to work on a long-term deal. So I think that's all the NFL news that we have.
They did Will Anderson too, so they got the 5th-year option for both of them.
Okay. Texans making some moves, keeping some of their players for another year. Do we have anything else? MLB, I know we're a couple weeks in now at this point. Big fight last night, clearing the benches. Yep. I think both of those guys got suspended a week. 7 games?
Shout out to Walt Weiss, the Braves manager. If you slow down that video, he comes in, goes perfect double leg takedown on Soler, brings him to the ground. He's like, 78 years old, 6 foot, 150 pounds, and he takes down a big guy like Soler. I was laughing so hard last night watching that video, just knowing that an old guy still got it, could take down a big guy.
Yeah, no, that was a crazy fight. I didn't know they got down like that in MLB. Shout out to them.
Yeah, once in a while. Yeah.
Not very often. If you need some knowledge, just look up Ramirez versus Anderson. That was a good one too.
That's the best one of all time. Hey, also shout out to the Buffalo Sabres. I haven't talked about them much because I'm very superstitious, but I was a kid in 2010, 2011, and I was 12 years old. They made the playoffs the last time, so they finally clinched their spot in the playoffs, ending a 14-year playoff drought. And your Buffalo Sabres will be in the Stanley Cup playoffs moving forward. So I'm very elated, very excited about that. So shout out to the Buffalo Sabres and shout out to hockey.
Hockey's moving to the playoffs just like the NBA. So we'll have some playoff coverage for you guys heading into the middle to end of this month. But I think with that, guys, we're going to head on out. Thank you guys for watching on YouTube. Thank you for listening on Spotify. This is Sideline Podcast episode 229, almost at 230. And we will see you guys next week. Peace.